All right, welcome back to Off the Tap. This week is episode 45, and we're doing Karbach's Weekend Warrior.
Sorry, I want to apologize off the bat for the 2 week hiatus. 2023 coming in pretty hot. If you watched any of the stuff that was posted on Instagram or YouTube as far as past episodes, not only has it bestowed upon me a broken arm, which, hey, happy to say out of the cast,
Yay!
but also, aside from food poisoning, probably the worst sickness I've ever had 2 weeks ago now, that damn near took me out. Like, if there was ever a time where I was like, okay, maybe I should give up, go towards the light, it was definitely then. But fluids, oxygen, and then obviously the hiatus from beverages because of antibiotics, but back in the saddle, baby. Back in the saddle.
Oh yeah, we're back. We're back. Man, it really is a miracle what those fluids will do for you, huh?
Dude, so,
Just
okay,
straight
and
to the vein.
I know that I texted you while this was happening, but like I had an epiphany as this was happening. So first off, the fluids within like it's almost instant. I don't want to say instant, but let's say 2-3 minutes of fluids, your fucking life changes. Okay, you come back to being a human. But my thought on this was, like, Ozarka had a massive campaign in the early 90s where they were like, hey, we're going to sell you an Ozarka machine or give you or gift you. I don't know how exactly the model worked, as long as you purchase those like 5-gallon jugs from us. And it was huge for Ozarka. Everybody was drinking spring water. Like that was just the thing in the 90s. Like, you would go to somebody's house and like you could tell like their parents were killing it and like they were living a lifestyle if they had an Ozarka machine. Like, hot and cold water on tap. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And I think that we should normalize that for IVs. It's 2023. Okay, listen, we should normalize that same model. Like, look, you buy the equipment, or you buy the bags of saline or whatever magical juice it is. I'm sure that there's different variations that you could get, and we're gonna put them in everybody's houses, because we would be a happier, healthier America if we could just inject saline solution into our veins once every 2 or 3 days.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. We'd be a lot healthier. I'll tell you what, we'd have a lot more energy. That's 100% fact.
I don't know what was in my particular, I think it was just saline, but dude, it might as well have been straight B12, like loaded electrolyte cocaine, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe it was. Speaking of fluids, we're gonna get back on the beer topic.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
so back to what we're here for.
But that is why we've been why there was a 2 week absence. First week was because of feeling horrible. Second week was because of antibiotics, and we don't mess with messing up what antibiotics do. Which you know what though, I thought about this and I meant to tell you. We next time something like that happens, we should just do a non-alcoholic beer episode.
Oh my God, that would be great, because there are a number of, more so on the cocktail front, I know, as of late, like what do they call them? Mocktails. But there are a good bit of beer. I mean, even some of the craft brewers are putting out non-alcoholics now.
Yeah, so that's something that we could do next time. Now we know.
Dang it. That's a good thought now.
Missed opportunity. Hindsight 2020. All right, so this Karbach Weekend Warrior is a pale ale, which honestly, it says it directly on the can, and I didn't piece it together that's what it was when I bought it. I was just focused on the word Weekend Warrior, and I was like, you know what, I've never had it. So going to give this a try. We're coming in at a 5.5 is what it said online. Let's see what the can says.
5.5.
Nice, on target. All right, and we got an IBU of 40.
That's correct, and they have the IBUs on the can here. Back to True Craft presentation.
Yeah, so this is actually one of the higher IBU beers we've had on here. Oh, I mean,
really?
It's like the fourth or fifth highest.
Okay.
So interesting, but I'm gonna get into it and taste it. I've never been there.
I'm gonna go ahead and do a pour, but also I do want to mention something about the can as I'm looking at it. So I don't know what they put out a Yule one around Christmas, right? It's got the lamp of the Christmas story lamp on it.
You'll shoot your eye out. Very clever.
Yeah, you'll shoot your eye out. Very clever. But it's almost like they stole the font off that can and just repurposed it on this one. You know
what? Yeah, and almost the colors too. Like, not the Weekend Warrior colors, but the green colors on the can.
Yeah, you know what? It's like, back at, I don't know if this was a thing like in the 2000s, but like back in the 90s, when you would take magazines and you would like cut out
Mm-hmm.
words and make a message, or like it was real popular for like heists and people with ransom notes, I guess too. That's a
Yeah.
weird flex, but anyways, it's almost like they did that from the can, like of the Yule can, and just stuck it on this one. They had some leftover print and they were like, yeah, screw it, put it on the Weekend Warrior can.
Yeah, especially the pale ale where it says pale ale. But the Weekend Warrior text itself actually reminds me of like a early 2000s MTV music video lettering, you know,
Yes, like
like the shaky letters on the screen when it's saying stuff.
yes, or on older skate, I don't know what it was, but
Yes,
like older
skate
unbranded
videos.
skateboard videos where they would just like stamp the screen with something. That's what it looks like.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's pretty
Um,
good. I'm enjoy it.
so okay, so we got a little color here. I think it's got a great color. It
It's pretty
does
solid
like
color.
as I pop the can, there's some hoppiness to it, or
Oh
some
yeah,
bitterness at least. But
it's hoppy. So I've had this conversation with a few people over the past couple weeks about IPAs because they're just I hate them, right? And I get it. IPAs are a very acquired taste, honestly. The first like two or three that I tasted, I hated. I couldn't stand them. I dumped out the first two I had actually. I know, dude.
sacrilege,
I
sacrilege.
know, right? Slap me in the face now, but I did because I was like, oh god, this is horrible. But man, when you find a good one, it changes you. It really does. Not, I mean, they're not like my favorite by any means, but man, every now and then I do crave one. You know what I mean?
It's never we do the WWYBD at the end of the episode, right? And I think that for me, the IPA or even a pale ale, like even this one, I can say this is kind of like I'll have a couple of them, but I'm not, this is not something where I'm like, oh, we're gonna go slam some IPAs. I'm gonna taste one when I'm in the town that's making it for sure, right? Out of respect.
Yes.
But yeah, it's not something where I'm like, oh, we're going to the bar to have a boys' night and we're just gonna kill IPAs all night. I'm
No.
not into that.
No, no, no. This is an IPA is definitely a first time at the brewery. I'm gonna give it a try thing. You know what I mean? That's what it is for me.
And I would say that, I know that you're saying your experience might be different than others, but I'm going to say universally across the board, at least for like American beer drinkers, right? Like from field parties to like real beer drinking, the
Yeah.
IPA does take a development. It's not necessarily an age thing. I think it's just a preference thing. But I too had so when we talk about pouring out beers, I too had an experience. And mine
Oh,
was, I have not been able to find it again, but a buddy brought over, we were doing sixers of whatever, they would come over like Fridays for dinner or something like that. And he brought a 6-pack of this stuff. I think it was called Hop Amish. Good Lord. I believe that we drank 2 cans, one each, and I dumped one out of the 6-pack. We made beer bread out of it. Couldn't even eat the beer bread. Like that's how rough it
oh
was.
my god.
Yeah, and I mean, we chewed most of it. And I don't know if it was old or what it was, but
Jesus.
but that was very early on in my IPA journey, and so I was a little standoffish. In fact, everyone I would drink, I'm glad to say this is not one of them, but everyone that I would drink after that would bring back like the PTSD from having that hop Amish. And so I had to overcome that mentally every time I took on a new IPA.
Yeah. So my first IPA actually was also from Karbach, and it was their Hopadillo.
Okay. Yeah, it's a good
Uh,
beer. It's hoppy, but
it is very hoppy. And it's very different when you're, a young age partying, going from a natty light, to a Hopadillo. It really throws you off. But like I said, they're not my favorite beers. I do enjoy them. I think actually my favorite, yeah, my favorite IPA I've had is actually a double IPA, and we actually did it on the podcast here. And it's out of Spindletap Brewery, the Heavy Hands Double IPA. Very, very solid if you're into the IPAs, but this one's
I,
all good as well. I'm enjoying this.
I want to make this comment. So even at the 40 IBUs, the 5.5, which 5.5 is a recreational drinker, if that's
Yeah,
such a
it's not
term.
super heavy.
And even being it a little more bitter, I'm gonna retract the state. Like with this one, I do feel like I could go and have, not a ton, but I do think this could be a night out drinker because it toes the line to me of like pale ale and generic lager or generic pilsner or something like that. It's
Yeah.
right there on the cusp. Not in flavor. I think it really packs a pale ale punch, but like in what it like at least I've only had the one, but in what I feel after consuming it, the alcohol, the IBUs, it is something I could probably drink more than my average pale ale of.
Yeah, definitely for 40 IPUs, for 40 IBUs, it's definitely not that bitter to me.
What if that was its own subcategory? How many Indian Pale Ale units is that? You know what I mean? What if they had their own rating scale just because they're
Maybe
that popular?
maybe they should, maybe because some of them get pretty high up there, you know.
Yeah.
So you were telling me a little bit about, because I didn't understand what the term weekend warrior actually meant. I'm gonna be honest. When I first saw it, I thought it meant the person that just goes ham on the weekends. That's what I thought.
I think that's their intent with this branding, right? God forbid we go an episode without injecting our thoughts of their branding, but
Hey,
I do think that that's what their intent is, like just sending it. Like that's what they do. That's what a weekend warrior is. It's like you clock out on Friday, post commute, you're just sending it, dude. It's just every maxed out volume all the way at 11 on a scale from 1 to 10. This is Spinal Tap plug. You guys can go back and find the reference to that later. But anyways, 11 on a scale from 1 to 10, Friday night through Monday morning, even Sunday night, killing it hard. That's the weekend warrior that I think they're referring to.
okay.
In my life, we always used it with definitely a lot of negative connotation because dad lived on the lake and we would do a lot of fishing and we would do recreational stuff too on the lake, but mainly it was fishing. And I just remember like we would never fish on the week. Sometimes Sunday afternoons when like the weekend warriors were gone, but
Right.
never on a Saturday. You don't fish on a Saturday because the weekend warriors were out, right? And it's those people that obviously have day jobs, don't live on the lake, so they can't enjoy the lake Monday through Friday. But they're the ones with the 90-mile-an-hour wave runners. They're pulling the tubes, which is all great
Right.
recreational fun. But they're the warriors because they hit it hard Friday afternoon, they hit it hard Saturday, they hit it hard Sunday morning, which doesn't make for peaceful, enjoyable fishing on the same lake during that time period.
So same definition, just different understanding of the word or the phrase.
Yeah.
Different
Yes.
feeling about it.
Yes, but also like in my mind, there's a couple of subcategories, right? There's those that maybe they live on the lake, but that they're not out during the week, or they own boats and they're avid boaters, so they're still half-ass respectful of fishermen. Because I think anybody that owns a boat that even plays but is dedicated to like water sports and stuff like that still half-ass respects the fisherman premise. I'm talking about the folks that literally got the free pass to the country club for the weekend, like the ones that fucking rented the boat, have no idea what etiquette is. They bummed some jet skis off of an uncle, dropped them in the lake, and just blow them up essentially. Like just no respect for anything, or just disregard for everybody else's comfort. Even the other weekend warriors that probably are rightfully
Are
so
like,
there.
come on.
Yeah, even they're like, shit, dude, calm down. Like,
yeah.
you don't
Relax a little bit. You know what I mean?
you don't, for this crazy cat, you don't need to blow all 9 lives this weekend. You know what I mean? That kind of thought.
Yeah.
So that's what I think of when I think of weekend warrior. So I really, and it's so hard to overcome that mentality because it was like, oh shit, like we would pick them out. Like that's how much we hated them. We would pick them out. Like we would see somebody like launching a boat. We'd be like, fucking weekend warrior. I hope that guy's not
Because they're struggling.
Yeah,
because they're struggling.
That, or they're just so like, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's great to be on the lake and everybody's pumped up, but like there's certain parts of being on the lake where you can just keep your wits about you, and it's usually putting the boat in. You got to stay focused, and these are the dudes that are just like super pumped. They're just yelling in the truck while they're backing it in, shotgunning in the parking lot. Yeah, you're like, just wait till you get on the boat, bud. You'll be fine.
Just absolutely belting Simple Man as they open the car door and they're singing really loud, but you can't hear them because the radio is too loud.
You can always tell when they're making like the loop to back in, shirt's already off, windows already down in the truck, that kind of thing.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
That screams my dad, if I'm being honest with you.
It's like a Target. Yeah, but at least, he was.
But
like,
he has etiquette. He has etiquette. Yeah. I'm just saying the shirt off part.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me
Because
wrong. I'm not saying that.
we would pull up to that boat, the launch ramp, and he would get out of that driver's seat and put me in there, and he would get in the boat and start getting everything
It's,
ready. That's
and
him.
and I think the difference is that he's shirtless like at least 60% of the time anyway. So that's not really anything different for him.
I think we need to bump that number up, brother.
Okay, 70, 75, 80%, you know.
Yeah.
I can count on no fingers how many times a week that he has a shirt on. But I would say that like that's respectful. Like that's a
Yeah.
different weekend warrior. But no, just like they've got all their tubes are still like in the box that they bought from
Yeah,
like the Walmart. You know what
they're
I mean?
not ready to go.
No,
That's the
no.
difference. That's the difference is the weekend warriors of the good kind are ready. Like the reason my dad was doing it was to get in and out quick so that everybody could get their boat in. You
Which
know what I
is part
mean?
of the
Get in and
respect
out. Let's go. Let's get it going.
What one
But
other
you know,
thing that one other thing I guess that I just realized too is like part of that stereotype is the true non-weekend warriors, like even if they're just hitting it on the weekends, the true non-weekend warriors, and I would like to put this to the test, to be honest with you, they're not sporting any cooler that costs more than $45. This is the story. A true weekend warrior has a $900 Yeti that they have in this rented boat. The people that live on the lake, that live the lake, and maybe they are weekend warriors by definition because they're only hitting it Friday and Saturday. They've got a $19 Igloo Marine that they're just hoping that the
the
sun
fold
doesn't beat
back,
all the shit.
the fold
That's it.
back, baby. Not even the
Yeah.
pop open, the button press
Nope.
fold back.
A fucking soft top with duct tape on it. That's how they're rocking it.
Absolute classic.
That's,
Sometimes it's even a styrofoam one if you run it out. You know what I mean?
that's it. One for the day.
If you didn't clean it, you know what I mean? You got to run
You
out to the grocery store and get you a styrofoam one real quick.
coming out of the parking lot, you chip the lid, so there's a damn hole right at the corner where it connects. It just is what it is, Quick access.
Bump it on the tailgate as you loading her.
So that being said, like we would pick them out, like that's a weekend warrior. So like we would just hope that they wouldn't come to our particular part. So in my mind, it's hard to reprogram happy weekend warriors. It's like those people that post on social media Sunday fun day, and I'm like, yeah, well, we're all depressed. We're going back to work tomorrow.
No one's having fun.
I bet you Sunday fun day people double as weekend warrior.
Yeah, there's a very good chance. Or they probably, or they just don't work.
That is true.
You know what I mean?
You mean Sunday fun day really quickly becomes Monday fun day.
Yeah, not for everybody else though.
But I mean, what would you say the Karbach's thought process is with weekend warrior?
I'm gonna say they're
Probably
going.
the first definition.
Yeah, I'm gonna say they're going for the positive. I maybe that, or maybe they're trying to hit a market where, it's the people that on the weekends are putting their work in. You know what I mean?
Okay,
They're the weekend warrior, bro. They're fighting out there. You know what I mean? And I don't necessarily mean like 9 to 5 work. I mean like mowing the lawn work, like all your chores and stuff.
I like that.
Cleaning out the storage, the cleaning the garage. You know what I mean?
Real quick on the unintended pun of they're fighting it out, warrior.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Oh, that was intended. That was intended.
Oh,
come on now.
Okay. Well, I'm baffled by your ability to plug them and passively just let them happen.
Yeah, man, that's what I do. Sometimes I can make it happen. Sometimes I don't. But yeah, maybe that's what they were going for. I don't really know, but I can see it either being something like that or more along the positive side. I don't imagine them trying to name and market a beer around a negative connotation of the phrase.
Yeah, just targeting a stereotype that everyone hates. You're right. That's probably not in their best interest.
It's probably not great for PR. You know what I mean?
No. Also, I know we're not in the, WWIBD session, right? Or section of the program. That's at the very, very end. But I just don't see any of the stereotypical, like, know them from a distance weekend warriors drinking pale ales while on the rented boat.
No,
I just don't see it.
No, not at all.
No. It's a little heavy. It's a little, like, I already feel a little dehydrated. That's the thing about a pale ale, too.
Yeah. I would say, yeah, heavy for sure. Because when I think of somebody that you're describing, I'm thinking Bud Light, if we're being honest with you. They're drinking
Yeah.
Bud Light, maybe
Nat
even Natty.
natties.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's getting real trashy. And hey,
Hmm.
if you're that weekend warrior, then maybe learn a little etiquette. But we're not trying to shit on you too hard. It's just
No, I'm not telling you to change your flavor profile. It's just, don't be a dick and go upriver where there's people trying to camp on a treetop and slam some slabs. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah, bro.
Um, I did
Just
one of the
trying to cue some links, bruh.
Yeah,
You
I like
know?
just letting life happen rather than forcing life to happen. I think that's the biggest deal between a weekend warrior and
Right,
a
right,
regular person. They're
right,
trying to
right.
force life. I do see on the can, so there's a funny little part of the branding, a little to-do list. So maybe this gives us some insight to what a weekend warrior is. They hit the trail, right? Oh, this actually negates your previous comment. So there's a
So it's
list
not
of
a
look. I mean,
work.
obviously I'll show it, but I don't know, it's blurry in the camera, but
Okay.
so there's a checklist. Number one, hit the trail. Yes, they've checked that. Number two, yard work. They have scratched that out and assigned that to next week. So
Okay. So it's not the people that are putting in the work.
no, get wet. That's definitely something that would come out of a weekend warrior's mouth. Catch the game, chill and grill. Okay, so that's maybe if this were a like if we had a Venn diagram of weekend warrior and non-weekend warrior, the only thing they're wanting to do together is chill and grill. That's
Okay.
the only overlap of said Venn diagram, and then obviously having a cold one. I mean, so I think they're checking most of those boxes, but that does
I would
negate
think
your
I
principle.
would think the last three, the
Yeah,
catch the
getting
game.
wet, catch the game, and chill and grill. Or are you talking about catching the game, chilling and grilling, and having a cold one?
Yeah. I'd say those are
Yeah,
probably all in the middle of the Venn diagram because the getting wet part could be negative based on your definition of it. You know what I mean? They could
that
be
is
out
true.
there being the bad weekend warrior while you're trying to be the good weekend warrior. You know what I mean? Or the
Also,
non-weekend warrior, if that's what you're calling
I, I think the Venn
it.
diagram is unused a lot. I think a lot of people see it as like they really only look at what are the differences. But I think the Venn diagram can really unite a bunch of different folks that seemingly have unrelated characteristics.
Yeah, I mean, especially in today's culture, society,
Yeah,
we've got a lot of people that aren't putting those circles together to try to come together and find a common ground. They're just getting close to each other and bouncing. They're not
listen,
overlapping at all.
I don't know where USA Today is with their survey team or the New York Times or fill in the blank, Wall Street Journal, whatever. But we need more people putting out quality, uniting Venn diagrams. I need to see it. Like I would take that visual over anything else.
Mm.
Some of them, obviously, a lot of them would be hilarious as well because the differences are just as funny as the commonalities. But big fan. I don't know. I'm gonna put together a Venn diagram of what I like and what I don't like about Venn diagrams.
Okay, I'll do the same thing. We'll compare.
Yeah, we'll link them together.
All right. Well, we talked a little bit about the branding of the Weekend Warrior here, but we also didn't really touch on the fact that this week, or this week's episode, we got a lot of changes with the podcast. We've done a little bit of a rebrand, new logo, and new cover art for the podcast. Wanted to try to make everything a little bit more unified. Wanted to get a new social media logo out there because I didn't really like the current one that we had. So I figured let's just use the 2 weeks that we have on a hiatus to do a little bit of a cleanup. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
we
it's a
got
good time to reflect.
yeah. So we got all new branding. I'm sure you've seen it at this point. You've gone, wow, is that the same podcast? Yeah, unfortunately, it's the same podcast. We're just all different. You know what I mean?
It's
Well, not
it's
all
like
different.
those bags of chips, but instead of saying a new look, same great taste, it's gonna say new look, same disappointing cast. That's
Yeah.
what it says. That's
Yeah.
essentially what we're selling to you guys.
Exactly. But also, you heard at the beginning of this episode that we finally got some music in here. So that's
Yeah.
exciting. We got a little bit of intro music, a little bit of outro coming at you as well. So just be prepared for that. I don't want to scare anybody.
No,
Um,
but it's the next generation. I think the rebranding along with with some of the production quality. Thank you, Randall, for basically handling everything except for me talking for an hour a week. But the production quality, the production value, and moving towards a more enjoyable episode, even though you still got to listen to us, which, I don't know if we're going to be able to overcome that. But I think it's a step in the right direction. Big fan.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun redoing the logo, so I would like anybody listening to just chime in on a clip online or on Twitter or something and let me know what you think. It was a lot of fun.
Also, on that note, we had been bouncing back and forth as a kind of a launch pad for the new branding itself, working on an interactive, like social media, like giveaway type campaign. So the thought is, we mentioned it a little bit in the past. About like, oh, we joke about a question, throwing it out to the audience as far as Twitter, but I really do love the interaction that comes from the social media piece, not because of what the social media drives or anything like that, obviously that's great, but because it really does give us insight for topics or the thought process of how you guys digest or distill or interpret what it is that or the bullshit that we spill every week. So part of that social media giveaway would be posing a question via Instagram, via a clip, or via Twitter, and those that respond basically get entered into a drawing for a couple of custom built off the tap branded bottle openers. So like I said, these are custom wood, and they have some like unique designs in them, all artisanal and exotic woods. But they are going to be off the tap branded. And so the mindset is, I told Randall earlier, like it's kind of like playing Cards Against Humanity or like Apples to Apples. The responses that we pick might not necessarily be the best response to the question, but at least are like an actual answer to the question, but those that spark the next idea that fuels the next conversation, so on and so forth. So that will be coming out shortly, as soon as we get those made and as soon as we get them branded. So look out for the social media posts via Instagram or Twitter as far as the question's concerned.
Yeah, the interactions on the Instagram clips have been pretty great the last couple of weeks. So that's been really exciting. That and on Facebook as well. Not necessarily interactions with the videos, but y'all are really hitting up the Facebook page. I've been seeing a lot more views through there, so that's cool. It's really cool to see.
It's interesting to me. One other thing I'll say, it's interesting to me to see like who reacts to what, because like obviously there's some we go down a rabbit hole about something that's funny, but we'll also have like a topic that genuinely, whether it's bullshit, like whether it's funny for one reason or another, but like a genuine question that we're trying to answer for ourselves. And it's crazy to see like texts that I get or comments that I get or something like that. Some will be driven towards like, hey, that's a question we do need to get answered, and some are just like, hey, I laughed at this and it was great. So it's great to see that there's like a mix of everything.
Agreed. It's been really cool. So I just wanted to take a minute also just to thank everybody that has been listening and has been interacting. It's nice.
And it's absolutely awesome. It's the support's been great, so keep it coming. One other thing I'll say is kind of in that same vein. We've joked about this. I don't want to say joked. Excuse me. Hey, that fizz score is going up little by little. And I had to make it through like the first pint in order for them to start. But in that same vein, we've talked about it in the past, but we have set ourselves an official goal to do a live recording at a tap room in a local area by the end of April. We don't necessarily have a dedicated tap room at this point. There's obviously a bunch in this area that we've had beers from that we've shared our love and or, hey, prove me wrong for. So stay tuned on that, but we'll make an announcement on that, and it would be awesome to have a group of folks come out, hang out, have some beers, jump on the mic, and just kind of walk through the process with us real time.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Get a bunch of different viewpoints of questions that we have, or bullshit random stuff that we talk about. I think that could be really cool.
Fuel for the fire.
Yeah. All right, what do we have next year? Oh man, dude, baseball's back.
Oh, thank God.
Oh man, speaking of the weekend warrior, bro, this weekend is when it started, bro. Oh
Yeah.
man,
And then the Venezuela, well, I mean, at least for Astros fans, the Venezuela game's coming up. What is that, March 8th? We got a couple of like a week and a
pretty
half maybe.
soon. It's pretty soon. Yeah. We have a few. I mean, we got Altuve and I know Luis Garcia, I think,
Yes. And then
on Team Venezuela. I don't think
coaching staff as well.
I believe yeah, one of our coaches is the coach for Venezuela.
I feel like maybe if we were going to mention it, we could have fucking Googled it or something. But
No,
yeah,
well, I don't remember his name, but I'm pretty sure you're right.
I'm
Uh
100% sure. But I don't know his name specifically. I need to Google that.
yeah. Um but yeah, so that's pretty exciting. I don't think Fromber is playing for the Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico or Dominican Republic. Where's he from? Dominican Republic, I think.
The Dominican Republic, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think he's playing, but it's been weird because usually when spring training starts, right, you have like really 2.5 weeks of spring training where none of your starters play. It's all the backup people. Like that's what it is. Because you want to wait and give your get your starters in those last few weeks to get them ready for the, beginning of the regular season, right? But it's the complete opposite this year because of the World Baseball Classic.
Yep.
Because we're seeing our first game of the year we had, Kyle Tucker was in there, Altuve and Pena and Maldonado played the second game. You know what I mean? You don't ever see that normally. And so it's because in a couple weeks, like Stefan mentioned, or a week or so, some of those games are starting. So they're going to not be with the team for a little bit, which makes me a little concerned, but it's going to be fun, I think, still.
It makes like when I think of spring training, like first off, there's and I don't hate anybody for this, but like there's a lot of folks that are like, it's spring training, like who cares? For someone like me who does, I always tell myself every year I'm going to be more dedicated to all the movements and the talent that's coming up in the off season, right? How they're working through the system, and I never do. Like I stay with it postseason a little bit to see who jumps around. Obviously, big contracts, whether they're on the Astros or whether they're outside the organization, I stay with that. I'll look at some of the farm clubs here and there, like performance wise, but I really don't stick with my off-season labors as far as being a fan as much as I would love to. So that's why I love spring training, because it kind of gives me the opportunity to do that a little bit before the larger names come in, right? You can dabble, you can kind of touch your toes into what's happening with the entire organization through that first couple of weeks when they've got, who else is in there as far as new talent.
Right. The beginning of spring training is typically like your cliff notes.
Yeah.
It's your cliff notes for the entire lower divisions of baseball, basically within your organization.
Not to mention that by that point I'm so baseball starved that I'm like, fuck it, I'll go to a little league game if that wasn't creepy.
Dude, that's exactly. So I'm saying I'm about to go to my old high school's baseball games, bro. Just to watch some ball, man. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm pretty excited. Got baseball bag. We got there's this kid for the Astros that has been killing it these first 3 games. Justin Durden, I think his name is.
I saw hit a blast yesterday or 2 days ago.
He has an OPS of like 4,000 right now.
Yeah,
it's crazy. But I mean, it's only 3 games in. He's only had like 4 or 5 at bats.
Hey, look,
but that's still crazy.
You can't bowl a 300 if you don't make a strike in the first frame.
That's what I'm saying. But it's funny because when I went to Corpus Christi back in August of last year, it was for Sean, the one of the old hosts, his bachelor party.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Not that he passed away. I mean, he did get married. Well, anyways, go ahead.
So we went to Corpus, and if you don't know, the Corpus Christi Hooks are the Astros AA team now. And we went to a game for cheap beer and a good time, and boy, was it. It was a great time. Highly recommend it. But Justin Durden was on the Hooks in that game, and he went yard. And he had like a triple, a double, and a home run or something. It was crazy. And I looked over at everybody, and I was like, why is this guy in AA? Like, he should at least be a AAA. And a week later, he got called up, and now he's got the invite to the spring training.
So he did have, not necessarily wasn't tenured at the Space Cowboys, but he definitely had some Space Cowboys time.
Yeah, he had about 3 weeks or so, or about a month.
That's pretty good
in AAA.
Which is where,
right, which is where he'll start this year most likely. But It'll be interesting to see because if he keeps this hot spring training, I'm telling you, man. I wanted to say that because if anybody has been watching by any chance, the spring training games and been like, man, who is this guy? Bro, it's not a fluke. This kid's got pop, man. He's good. Now, I don't know necessarily defensively because I didn't have to see him do much defensively, but he's got a bat.
Does he have what? Which is the most important thing? Let's be honest. We've all seen Moneyball, but
Yeah.
does he? I mean, does he have a solid field spot, or are they gonna find is it a
Well,
utility type situation? Or
he's an outfielder. So,
okay,
it could be tough with
Kinda
Kyle
tight.
Tucker and Kyle Tucker and Brantley / Jordan,
well, what about center? Right, with like the McCormick rotation and those folks, I think he has a fit there if he can swing a stick, right?
if he can, yeah. That would probably move Kyle Tucker into center field though,
Okay, that's fine.
which I'm also not totally against, but um,
Good.
but yeah, I'm excited, man. Oh, been getting the blood going again. I'm waking up excited for some games.
100%. This is mind blowing, but I have to include this just because like not everyone else would know. But so today, of all the times, we sat down to dinner and Katie was like, "Hey, is there a baseball game on today?" And I was like, "No, I'm not watching." First off, it's I had to explain this to her. I'm like, spring training, so it's a lot of day games. But I was like, "No, I'm not watching baseball today." Right? That's normally what that conversation means. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, "No, I actually kind of felt like watching a baseball game." And I was like, "Damn it, spring
Oh,
training
getting her.
for being day games, What the hell?"
Now,
Um,
yeah, that is true. Because they're all day games. But here's the thing, though, is typically I prefer day games.
so I'm mixed. I love a Sunday day game because that it's enough to prep you for, the upcoming Monday. You can catch a game with the boys, enjoy yourself. There's something about a game during a Sunday that's great. Midweek day games, not the biggest fan. But
Makes
then,
sense.
and then anything that's, West Coast is, just terrible usually because you're like, oh, it's 9 o'clock. I feel for the folks on the East Coast, but yeah, it's like 9 o'clock and you're trying to still catch the last 5 innings. You're like,
Yeah.
son of a bitch.
So here's a good little segue into what I want to talk about then, because I know you've watched some of the games, right?
Yeah.
So you know that they've implemented a pitch clock this year,
Yes.
and it has dramatically decreased the time of games. I think we're at like an average time of like 2 hours and 20 minutes or something.
Yeah, I saw though there was already some controversy about like
lot.
third strike outs or whatever because of not because of the pitcher, but
Because
because
of
of
the
the
hitter.
batter. Yes.
So I have two things to say really quick. Going on back on my point first is
All right.
the shorter time. I'm not about it. I know why they're doing it. I get why they're doing it to, please the larger, broader audience. I get it. But to me, it almost makes it not worth it to drive to a game to only be there for 2 hours now.
So, well, it
You know what I
depends on
mean?
it depends on the volume of action, but here's my thought process on
'Cause
that exact question. Is if you're already letting an umpire, a plate umpire make the call on because of whatever, eject a bench coach, eject a manager, eject whatever, like he's already making a judgment call there. He's making many judgment calls. I mean, for instance, every ball and strike, but if he's already capable of making a judgment call about somebody's attitude towards the game or their intent that dictates them being thrown from the game, then what keeps him from saying, "Look, we're not going to implement a pitch clock, but I am going to call out pitchers and I am going to call out batters if they're abusing the system." You see what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
don't think we necessarily need the clock itself. We just need umpires to respectively be able to say, "Look, the pitcher's obviously stalling. Like we got a batter that's
Yeah.
throwing the pitcher off of his rotation or off of his routine by not stepping up into the fucking box," right?
Yeah.
You can make that judgment call without mandating a clock that changes the entire flow of the game, is my thought. Right? Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
No, yeah, I agree. Because the whole thing with the batter is they have 8 seconds after the pitch to get out of the box, do whatever they got to do, and get back in and set and alert to. Here's the thing: the last part of it is the tricky part. Alert to the pitcher. So they have to be in the box, set, and looking at the pitcher, right?
I'll say, so
But
two
here,
problems with that.
but
Go
here's
ahead.
here's my argument to that is just let the pitcher throw the ball. If he's
Yes,
not ready,
that's
then he's
exactly
not
what I was going
ready.
to say.
If the
That's
batter's
exactly what I
not
was going
ready,
to say.
then that's his fault.
So there's that, but
There's no
also
reason to
like
call it an automatic strike or call the batter out. Like whatever happens, happens at that
the
point.
pitch was thrown. He wasn't in the
Exactly.
box, and it's a strike. It's in the zone. Um, obviously it dictates, what's a strike and what's not a strike by the batter being in the box. But come on, within reason. Let's say this: if you're not in the box and the ball's thrown, it's a strike. I don't know. Make that a rule. That's fine. Um, the other thing I was going to say is like think about someone like Altuve, who has a Altuve. Yeah, thank God that we're
Yeah.
going to edit that out. It's staying in.
Now we're doing. We're
Anyways,
keeping that in.
Altuve, who has that very strict spit routine with reclamp of the gloves, right? He has I don't know if you've ever, like, he does, obviously, everyone sees the gloves, everyone sees the spit. He gathers the spit off of his tongue, spits it, and then he steps in and squares up. But he also, I don't know if you've noticed this, and I saw it more in postseason, and I'm not being like a nerd here, but he will choke up about a hand width from the bottom of the bat, right? After he gets done with the gloves, and then he slides down to the bottom of the barrel. And he does only postseason. It's like he leaves like 1 inch of hand, and then once he steps up to the box and alerts, I guess if that's the terminology we're going to use, then he slides to the bottom of the bat. And so I don't even think, and he's respectful of time usually. I don't think he can reclip gloves, do twice tongue gather spit, and do the hand adjustment in 8 seconds and get back in the box.
No,
and he's
there's no
usually
way.
pretty respectful. That doesn't make sense to me.
Kyle Tucker couldn't even do his full routine, and all it was bend down, grab sand, rub
Grab
it, and
dirt.
get back in the dugout or get back in the box. He was saying that he felt rushed, and I was like, "Oh God, I feel bad for Altuve. He's gonna have a horrible time." But
Yeah.
I think it should have at least been a 10-second deal. But I also, like I said, am just against it in general of speeding the game up. Also because of the fact that when do they stop serving beer at a game? When you go to the game.
Seventh inning.
Seventh
Everybody
inning.
knows.
So how fast is that? Seventh inning used to be like at the 2 and 20-minute mark,
It
right? 2 hour
already
20-minute
feels
mark.
too soon. Do you ever
That's what I
get?
mean.
I get a little bit of an anxiety in my belly when I'm like, ah,
Like, man, I
shit,
haven't
it's
had
the
enough
seventh inning.
beer. I haven't had enough
Fuck,
beer,
yeah.
dude. I gotta go get my last beer already.
I'm
Now
gonna have to
it's
sit. Real quick, I will say that it's gonna make the time between seventh inning and ninth inning that seems forever because there is no beer or your beer's warm. That's gonna go by quicker. I'm not trying to find the silver lining here, but that's it if there is one.
yeah, that's true. I just think, now we're gonna have to go get our last beer in around an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
lame.
God, that's rough, dude. To drive to Houston, for me personally, to drive to Houston for an hour, to
I mean, dude,
be there for 2 hours, and then to drive back home an hour. I mean, I'm spending the same amount of time in the car.
think about this. If you don't, I mean, I know we normally get to the games earlier, right? For that exact purpose, snag food, snag beers, get
Right,
set
right.
up, watch warm ups. I get it. But let's say you're running late, you get to the game. By the time I've run for food, one bathroom break, and a beer, it's the seventh inning.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's the timing on that.
yeah.
So I
That's
feel
how I'm
like you,
just, I get why they think it's a good idea. I can't get on board with it. I can't.
there was one other point you were going to make about
That was
new
it.
implemented.
The beer, the
Okay.
beer, the beer one.
Yeah, it's
which
that
I've
you
seen
should
a
have
lot of
started with
people,
them.
which I've seen a lot of people, talking about on Twitter. A lot of baseball fans, they're like, "Man, dude, I'm gonna have to get my last beer after an hour and a half I've been there." So
It's so funny that you like we just dissected that to the extreme. Nerded the all the way went
yeah,
all the way to the nerd zone in why we don't like the rule and the implication it has on our personal enjoyment of the
yeah,
experience.
and I stand by it.
I do too, and so that's why I make this point. I had an epiphany earlier this week about the difference between being grown, and I mean like grown, and being a young person. And it comes down like everybody's like, "Oh, you're more mature. You've seen more life. uh,
Oh no.
even if you go like down to the basics of like puberty, whatever it is, right? Ritual, I don't know, bar mitzvahs, I don't care. Okay. All of that does not make a shit. The only difference between being grown and being young distilled simply to this one fact, and it blew my mind when I thought of it. It's being comfortable and appreciative for what you nerd out to. Okay? Because, and this is the point, I guess, to further define that. As a kid, let's say you're a teenager, you're like, oh no, I don't. I'll use Pokemon as the example, right? As a kid, as a teenager, you're like, oh no, Pokemon, no way. That, like, I could never be into Pokemon. No, that's stupid. That's because you're young. If you were a grown person, you would be like, hey, yeah, it's crazy monsters that are on a card. I'm gathering
I
them,
just went and bought 70 packs, bro. You want to open
bro,
those bitches up this weekend?
and just see what we get. It's kind of like gambling, but not.
Mm.
Also, there's like a community and I understand it's kind of cheesy, but like, oh, I have this particular card that I've sought out that's a collector's model. There's a whole community that's going after it. If you can accept the fact that you can nerd out to something like Pokemon, then you're
Mhm.
grown. If in your mind you still can't comprehend how people nerd out to it, you're a child. That's the biggest
Yeah.
difference. Now you can fill in that gap with whatever. I'm using Pokemon as example,
Right, right.
but it could be
It doesn't have to be something like that. It can just be whatever your interest is.
it could be baseball, it could be two cycle small engines. It doesn't matter what it is. This is where I had the epiphany. We took the kids to Monster Truck, and I was like, how lame is this going to be? And as soon as I got there, I was just like, wow, the amount of energy and calories that these people have to consume to do this, the horsepower, the teams that are building and maintaining these things. Immediately, I just started breaking it down. And that's when I realized that teenagers and people that think they're grown are going to go, monster trucks are lame. And I'm going to go, hey, do you know that it's almost physically impossible for a vehicle of that size to have that horsepower? Like, that's what I go to, right? And that's the difference between grown and young. It's just the acceptance that people are weird and they're going to nerd out, and it's okay for that to happen. That's the difference. That's when you know you're grown.
Yeah.
When you look at a group of people and you go, that's weird, but I see how they could
Yeah.
just give
But
it their all.
respect, man. But respect.
You look at a group of people and you go, I understand that they could weekend warrior that shit. They could just
Yes.
send it. They could just send it, and it's about pogs or something, whatever. Like, that's when you're grown. And when you're young,
Yeah.
you don't understand that. That's the difference, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I totally agree because I mean, there's always the thing that I think of the most, and this isn't something that I like, right? But there has been over the past, I don't know, 5 to 6 years, been a growing audience, well, a growing out audience, right? Like people that willingly say, yes, I'm a big fan of this for anime, the
Yeah.
like animated TV, like Naruto and Pokemon and stuff like that, but also all like the smaller ones like One Piece and all that kind of stuff. And everybody's just like, yeah, man, I love anime, and I'm not even talking like high school kids or middle school kids, like their target audience, but people that are like 30 and like, 35, between like 25 and 35. And they're like, hell yeah, I watch anime all the time. I've seen every episode and there's like 4,000 of them. You know what I mean? But they get into it, it's a huge community and I respect the hell out of it. Like,
Yeah.
man, that's what it's about, bro. It's about being yourself, man. That's what being an adult is. Exactly.
I and I like down to that point, I think in the same vein, right, along, following the same yellow brick road is like young people, people that assume they're grown, they're like, oh, I've got to wear this because, it's the
Yeah,
style. I'm like, well, is that
that's
uncomfortable?
an even better, yeah, even
Right.
better
Is that
comparison.
but then as a grown person, you're like, yeah, I'll slam a pair of Skechers. Are you out of your mind? You ever put those on
Yeah.
your feet? They're like, they look
Yes.
terrible. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like this changed my life.
Yeah.
Um, you're like the again, it goes back to the nerd out piece. You're like the technology that they have in this shoe is just outrageous. They're
It's
like, yeah, but
absolutely
it's
crazy.
ugly. And I'm like, yeah, but it's like walking on clouds. Like it's the best thing.
Yeah, but have you seen what it does for the arch of my foot?
Yeah, plantar fasciitis? I don't
Oh my
think so.
god, no, not with these bad boys on.
And I'm not even quite sure that's the right disease that shoes help. But anyways, I
Well,
sold
some
it
of
because
them,
that's how confident I was, right?
some of them do.
Um, yeah, it was just an interesting epiphany to me. To this point, we went to see monster trucks, and we're waiting in line. The venue hasn't opened yet, so we had to walk across. The kids immediately, of course, when we get there, they got a potty, so we had to run across to like the convention center or whatever. And I shit you not, dude, this is kind of where it dawned on me. Inside of this massive event center, there was a camping stove convention. Not a camping convention, camping stove convention. Now, you might ask
It's
yourself,
so niche.
what were there, seven booths in there? No, 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 sir. There was like 50,000 square feet of camping stoves. I was like, Jesus. And the audience was just ridiculous. I was like,
Dude,
I guarantee you there's a group of kids going, this is the lamest thing ever, Dad. And he's going, 1,000 BTUs via propane? Are you out of your mind?
I could start this baby up in a flash.
It's got an electric igniter on it, dude.
I mean,
Like, are you kidding me?
you kidding me? What about next time we go camping, son?
Listen, it runs off
What?
propane or crude oil. Tell me that's not worth it. Anyways, that's just what I thought of.
Oh man.
And I have yet to disprove that. It's only a theory. It's only a theory, but I've yet to disprove it across the spectrum of everything I could think of. Young
Yeah.
people that think they're grown. I don't want to say children, but young people that think they're grown, that 16 to 18 mindset, maybe even early 20s. They think that they're grown, but they haven't committed to what makes them happy and what makes them. It could be coupons. I don't know what the
They
fuck, dude.
haven't found themselves yet.
Yeah.
Themselves yet, you know. That's all it is.
You ever
I
check the
mean,
mailbox and you get like the Burger King free meal flyers in there? If that excites you, you're fucking grown. That's all I'm saying.
join a frequent flyer, right? Join a
I'm
frequent
just,
flyer group on Facebook. There's got
that's
to
all
be
I'm
one,
saying.
you know?
I'm just saying. There's so many things. Like, and somebody will explain something. Like you were just going through the anime thing. Like, somebody will explain that to me, and I'm like, you know what? Not my cup of tea, but I'm excited about it. I'm excited that people are excited about it.
I'm
That's the
excited
difference
for you,
about me.
bro. I'm
I am.
excited that you're having such a great time, you know?
I hear the passion in your voice, and I respect it, so I'm going to listen to the conversation. That's the difference between being grown and being young.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
All right, man. It's that time. WWYBD.
WWYBD, which again, for those that are just tuning in, means what would you be doing if you were enjoying this beverage? If this beverage was plugged into your life, what part of life would it be plugged into?
Yep, I'll go first. I think this is a little specific, but
Okay.
this is, in fact, on the can it says catching the game, right? Um, I don't necessarily need anybody over. I don't need to have my buddies over. They could be over. It's up to them. You know, it's kind of a show up or you don't. I don't really care. But I'm in the garage or whatever my outdoor indoor venue is, you know. Let's just say a garage. And I'm standing and watching the game, but I'm standing on artificial grass.
All right.
That's what it is. And I'm just watching the game. You know, I don't it's not even a crazy it's like a super non-important football game. No playoff implications.
Yeah, just exhibition generic.
We're just enjoying it, you know. Just enjoying the plays with my toes all curled up into some artificial turf. That's what it is. Very specific, but that's
I
what I thought of immediately when I took like my third sip. I was like, man. And not the good kind either, like the cheap kind. You know what I mean?
like more like indoor outdoor carpet grass kind of. Is that what
Yeah.
you're talking about?
Yeah,
Okay.
kind of more like that.
Like kind of like that grass that you put in your Easter basket.
Yes.
All right, sweet.
You
I
know.
feel you. That feels weird on my feet. So I am gonna have to admit that that is not where I pictured myself drinking this beer. That you might
Hey,
be the
that's
only
what it's
one.
all about, man. That's what it's all about.
Only you and yourself can share in that moment.
My friends
So
could be
for
there. I said they could. They didn't have to, but
How big of a patch of artificial grass is this? Like, is it shareable or is it like one of those
Yeah,
pads that like popped off?
I'm talking it's like rolled out, and there's like a little outdoor like patio bench, and like two seats. Like little outdoor patio set kind of. But just a small one, maybe like 4 or 5 people. But it fills that area with all that stuff.
I'll let you sell it. I don't know if I'm gonna quite buy it, but you know what? Back to my previous point, I respect it. I
There you go.
respect it.
I'm all about it.
Um, so for me, I know I've kind of mentioned this. I can't remember the exact beverage, but I mentioned this before. But this to me is a um, you're going out of. I mean, I do a lot with cooking, but you're going out of your way. You're making yourself vulnerable with a dish, but ball game dish, right? So maybe you're making a different type of brat setup. It's going on a different bun. You made a different sauce, whatever the case may be. Different onions, different veggies. Maybe you've incorporated cream cheese. I don't know. Whatever you're into, actually, whatever you're not into, right? Not your standard uh, ballpark fare, but you're stretching yourself thin with new recipe R&D. You got the boys over. There's a game on. Has to be a game on. You're sitting out back. Exterior TV. So I don't want to get as specific as you with your artificial turf, but the TV is mounted outside. You're in a porta cachet. You're in a what's the one with no roofs that make no sense?
Yeah, man, dude, I had
Pergola.
a pergola. There
Pergola.
you go.
Yeah. I don't know why the fuck we're still doing that. But anyways, you're in a pergola. There's a TV that's mounted, and you and the boys are on a journey together for an expedition for flavor, if you will. We're gonna drink a couple of these before we switch to Stones, Natties, something like that. This is the
This is the
build the
precursor.
palate. Yeah, this is the precursor palate enrichment that you need for your food. Once you eat the food, hopefully it's a success, right? New rib rub, then you switch to just trash
Okay, that's what I was gonna
lager.
say. This is your
Yeah.
pre-food beer for sure.
It to me it's the equivalent of coffee when you go to a fancy perfume place. You put the perfume on then or a candle or whatever, then you smell the coffee in between. It's a palate. It's a palate establisher.
I can
That's
I can
it.
get behind it. I can
What are
get
you
behind it.
throwing at what are you throwing at this thing as far as numbers are concerned?
So I've gone back and forth on a few of these here, but I think I'm set. I think I'm set on my numbers. I'm gonna start here with a 4 on entry, pretty standard. Nothing blows me away, but it's not disappointing. A 4 on aftertaste. I think it's pretty close to what I would prefer out of an IPA on aftertaste. Body 4 again, pretty close to a solid body, solid flavor. Color when you poured it, I thought it looked good. I gave it a 5. Um, Bitterness again, gave it a 5. I think it could be more bitter for an IPA, but I think I like the fact, like we stated, that it's not as bitter. Um, but you still get that IPA feel, that IPA
Yeah.
flavor, that IPA feel. Um, Acidity, I gave it a 3. It is a little fruity for me. Uh, so drew that down. And then a fizz, I also gave it a 3. The burps did come, but they didn't stay very long,
Yeah.
So
What
so
was your
that,
total then?
so that gives me a total of 28.
Dude, so as you were calling yours out, we had a few variances, but I don't think we've ever been this aligned. Um, so on entry, I have a 5. What I was expecting, slightly below perfect, but what I was expecting. Aftertaste, a little bit of it sloughed off, but I had a 4. Body, I had a 4, which is not a bad score. People are like, oh, if it's not a 6 or it's not a 5, it's trash. No, 4 is
No,
solid.
4's good.
Color, I had a 5. Loved it. Liked where it was at. It could have been a little bit darker, but I'll take it as a 5. Bitterness, same exact explanation. Like I did have it at a 4, but to me, it could have been more bitter. Any less bitter would have drastically reduced the score, though.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah, yeah,
it's like
yeah.
right there. Acidity, same thing. Had a 3. Just because I think it was middle of the road there. Fizz, I had the same exact thought. I was like, oh, here the burps come. Obviously, you guys heard them. In fact, I even had to stop to correct myself while burping. But then that was it. That this burp that I just had, maybe because I said burp, is the only burp that I've had since originally. So
Yeah.
total score comes to a 28.
Oh wow, so we're right on with that one. Again, I mean, I think it's a solid one. I mean, I'd get it again if I go to Karbach. I would try it on tap as well. So
Yeah, I agree.
it's good beer. All right, well, we're at that point where I'm going to tell you to follow us on socials, on TikTok and Twitter at Off the Tap, and on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Off the Tap Podcast, at Off the Tap Podcast. There we go. I got it out. Look at that.
It's all there. You guys be looking for once we get the social media giveaway set up. So reach out to us on Instagram as far as the question is concerned, and Twitter. Not sure if it'll be up by next week, but make sure to keep an eye out for that. And I'll leave you with these parting words. Don't just wage war on the fizz on the weekends.